Welcome back to Wrigley Field along with our producer director Arnie Harris and Steve Stone. I'm Tom Brenneman. Cubs are in front 1-0, and obviously with Greg Maddux on the mound you have to like your chances. And Stoney, it's been an amazing year for Maddux, the way he has matured as a pitcher, even going back to last season.
Well, he's learned one thing about baseball. You have to pitch in a lot of close games, and this year there's been a lot of close games for him, and with the Cubs squandering scoring opportunities like last inning, this one looks like it's going to stay close.
They had a chance to tack on a few more than just one run in the first as well. There's a bouncing ball. Sandberg will get it. Throws to first. Got
it. Normally Rhino's fielding slumps last one game, and this is an outstanding effort to his left. He comes up with it deep in the outfield, making the play to first base and just barely getting Finley. And Finley can go down that line. That's what makes that play a little better.
Sandberg, of course, for only the 4th time in his career, committed 2 errors in a game yesterday. But what a play that was off the bat of Steve Finley. Bagwell, his first time up, bounced to Ray Sanchez. Cubs in front 1-0, and Houston with only 1 hit.
Maddux usually has pretty good luck with Bagwell because he sets him up with breaking balls like the last one, and then he buries that fastball in on his hands, and it's tough for Bagwell to get around on that.
1-1 delivery coming to the Houston first baseman, who knocked in a couple of runs yesterday, and he now has 67 RBIs on the year. It's been a good sophomore season. They always talk about a sophomore jinx, but not too bad for Bagwell. He, of course, the National League's Rookie of the Year in 1991. Hit hard. Sanchez is there, and Bagwell is out.
That time Wilkins wanted a fastball inside, and Maddux got a little too much of the plate with it, so Bagwell could get the head of the bat out, and he hit a pretty good shot to shortstop, but the ball stayed on the ground. Sanchez able to make the play. You see where Wilkins wanted it. Maddux would have liked to got it a little more inside, but Sanchez right on the money.
Eric Anthony with the bases empty and 2 men out. He bounced to Mark Grace, his first time up. Well, we were talking the other day about Cardinal third baseman Todd Zeile getting sent back down to AAA Louisville. His replacement, Tracy Woodson, a formerly highly thought of prospect in the Dodger organization, is hit a 2-run homer today and delivered a 2-run single to give the Cardinals a 4-0 lead over Montreal.
We saw Montreal. They did nothing wrong, but they're having some problems with the Cardinals, who are having pretty much of a down year, especially a disastrous second half for them.
Remember, the Cardinals went on that 11-game West Coast trip leading up to the All-Star break, went 9-2. And felt they were right back in it. Ground ball to Sandberg again, and a rather routine 1-2-3 inning for Maddux. He has now retired the last 7. We head for the bottom of the 4th, a 1-0 Cubs lead.
Next time you vacuum, make sure you vacuum the coils of your refrigerator, because keeping dust off the cooling coils can save electricity, as much as $15 a year. Just a thought. For a few more, call us.
We're at a famous Mexican restaurant where we've secretly switched their tortilla chips with Eagle El Grande style. That means big tortilla chips. This unsuspecting customer on the hidden camera seems to enjoy them. Must be the authentic white corn. Excuse me, sir. Did you know that you're eating Eagle El Grande style tortilla chips? Oh! Yes! You really love them, don't you? Goes great with dip, too. Eagle El Grande style. Hey, Jack, they look good. Let me have one. Oh, please. Please, Jack.
Eagle El Grande. Not all chips are created eagle.
Maybe it's the water or something in the air that gives people here what we call common sense. You can see it in the things they do, like going to 76 for their gasoline. It's the same quality the winning drivers in NASCAR depend on. And people figure if it can satisfy the demands of racing, think what it can do for their cars, which, as you'd expect, makes perfect sense. 76, go with the spirit.
Get in on the ultimate squeeze play. Get a Cubs squeeze bottle, only at 76.
If potato chips are gonna cross your lips, keep them fresh, make them fine all the time. That's Pringles, pop the Pringles. Not like chips in a bag, they don't stay fresh. It's
This is WGN-TV Chicago, your For Kids' Sake station.
It is a gorgeous day to be here at Wrigley Field as the Cubs wind down this 4-game series against Houston, as well as this season-high 11-game homestand. And obviously they were hoping for better things after winning the first 4 to begin this stand against New York. They have dropped 5 of their last 6 games to go 5-5 on the homestand thus far. Latter third against rookie Brian Williams. It'll be Buechele, Sanchez, and Maddux. Steve on a 3-1 pitch opening the second inning popped up to second baseman Craig Biggio. Lined hard into left. Gonzalez is there, and he has certainly had to play the hardest hit ball so far today from the Cubs lineup.
And Gonzalez has shown that he's a pretty good left fielder. He's made a couple of good catches out there and seems to be in perfect position most of the time. So Williams has given up a couple of hard hit balls, but the Cubs don't have a lot to show for it.
Cubs have 2 hits. Williams has walked 3. He has fanned 2, and another man reached on an error by Biggio at second base. Ball 1 to Sanchez. Now the Cardinals, their lead cut down to 4-1. A solo home run by Marquise Grissom of Montreal, his 10th home run of the year. Hit it off Donovan Osborne. Lined into right center, a hit for Sanchez. Ray's second hit of the game.
And the 3rd hit in a row for Ray Sanchez, if you include the pinch hit yesterday. So with a couple of days off, Ray Sanchez has that batting average right around 254. And that's respectable for a shortstop who can pick it defensively.
Now Maddux delivered a sacrifice bunt, his first time up there, and I'm sure he's up there to do it again this time. Maddux overall on the year now has 5 sacrifices. What do you think of this Brian Williams? It's the first time the Cubs have had a look at him.
I think he's got a pretty good arm, and certainly at 23 years old, you would say that he's got a chance to be a pretty good pitcher if he learns to refine the breaking ball. But as far as the fastball is concerned, it's consistently around 88 miles an hour, and that's not too bad. It's good enough to win if the rest of his stuff comes along. You never can really tell, Tom, if a guy will get the feel for the curveball or the changeup. There's a look at what he's done on the road and at home. It's pretty easy to have a better earned run average in the spacious dimensions of the Astrodome than it is when you go to some smaller ballparks on the road.
One 1-0 on Maddux, and again he shortens up to bunt. It's right at Bagwell, and he'll just lay the tag on Gregg for the second out. Sanchez advancing on to second base. Now Brian Williams will long remember his start on August the 6th of this season against San Diego. He allowed back-to-back home runs in the first inning to Sheffield and McGriff. Allowed back-to-back home runs in the second inning to Sheffield and McGriff.
Well, when you throw 4 innings, give up 8 hits and 7 earned runs, you got to figure it's just one of those days. And he'll probably be a very happy man if he doesn't have to see Sheffield and McGriff anymore.
There are a lot of pitchers that would be very happy not to see Sheffield and McGriff anymore. We'll get a look at that twosome along with the rest of the Padres in the final stop of an upcoming West Coast road trip, which begins on Tuesday night in San Francisco. From there to LA and then finish in San Diego.
Outfield very shallow for DeCenzo, so it's going to make it a little tough on Ray Sanchez to score on a base hit. Now Gonzalez has got a pretty good arm, as does Finley. And they play DeCenzo round toward left center field.
Cubs are leading 1-0. We're in the bottom of the 4th. Slap foul. It goes to 0-2 on Doug DeCenzo. Here's a look at our next telecast coming your way from Candlestick Park on Tuesday night. Get underway at 9:30, and the twirlers in that one, a good matchup. Mike Morgan at 10-6 for the Cubs. Bud Black enjoying a fine year, the left-hander for the Giants, at 9-5.
Rest of that series features Frank Castillo on Wednesday against Billy Swift. And Thursday it's Mike Harkey going to the mound with his 3-0 record against Trevor Wilson. Both of those games 2:35 on WGN. Afternoon games in San Fran.
Can't argue with that. 1 ball and 2 strikes on DeCenzo. Sanchez at second. There's a roller. This could be a tough play, but Williams plays it flawlessly, and that'll do it in the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. We go to the 5th with the Cubs still clinging to a 1-0 lead.
Stay tuned for Montgomery Ward's Whatever It Takes.
That Highland, I don't get it. All of a sudden they claim they're offering honest advice? What'd they give you before? I mean, they even have the same salespeople. Now let's look at Electric Avenue.
There's Paula heading for the top brands. Electric Avenue will beat Highland's advertised price, guaranteed. Check these great plays by our sales team. Nice move. Brands, selection, and low prices.
Electric Avenue does whatever it takes to beat the competition. Highland, you're not funny.
Mark Grace capped a 6-run 4th inning with this double at Montreal, giving the Cubs a 6-5 lead. After the Expos tied the game in the 7th, Grace drove in 2 more runs, leading the Cubs to an 8-6 win. This Cubs victory was brought to you by Montgomery Ward, doing whatever it takes every day to earn your business. Electric Avenue and Montgomery Ward, doing whatever it takes.
No lines longer than your flight. No.
I can't seem to find your reservation.
No incomprehensible contracts. No heaters stuck on high in August. No hidden charges. And no lemons. National. No problem.
Get ready for Super Model of the World 1992. Watch the passion, fame, and fever of competition. It's a world of beauty.
Tonight at 7 on Channel 9.
A participating advertiser in Cubs baseball is Pepsi-Cola. Gotta have it.
Fifth inning is underway here at Wrigley Field. Ball 1 to Ken Caminiti, who will get things started. He'll be followed by Luis Gonzalez and Casey Candel. As you see, the Cubs holding a 1-0 lead. And it goes to 2-0 on Caminiti, who struck out against Maddux his first time up. That is the only batter Maddux has fanned today. He has not walked one and allowed just the 1 hit. That came with 2 down in the second to Luis Gonzalez. And that'll be the second hit.
It's been an interesting year for Luis Gonzalez when you consider his home and road numbers. At home, a tough place to hit, hitting just 178. On the road, 328. Look at the home runs, 2 as opposed to 5. The runs batted in almost double. So get him away from the spacious Astrodome and he is a happy man.
Well, he matched a career high yesterday, collecting 4 base hits, went 4 out of 5, had 3 singles and a triple. And he's already 1 for 1 here today. Well, we saw enough of him last year, Stoney. He's going to be a pretty good player. Very good defensive player. Has some power, although the home run numbers down this year, a lot due to the separated shoulder.
I think also, Tom, the Cubs and probably a lot of pitchers around the National League pitching him away. And when they do that, it really cuts down on the power numbers because there's very few guys strong enough to go and hook the ball away from them and hit it out of the park. Pretty good changeup by Maddux. And there's Gonzalez against Maddux. And he doesn't like to see Louis come to bat. 450 with 3 home runs, 9 runs batted in. And those are pretty impressive numbers against one of the league's best.
1 ball and 1 strike. Caminiti at first and nobody out, and he threw a fastball right by him. The count goes to 1-2. Well, we talked at the outset, as you look at Frank Castillo and Jim Bullinger, about Greg Maddux and the way that he certainly has matured as a pitcher. You talk to Billy Connors, the Cubs pitching coach, and he'll tell you that As far as he's been able to tell, Maddux has put a greater emphasis on the mental approach to pitching because he's always had the physical tools to be successful.
Well, here's an example, Tom. Now, here's one of the premier strikeout pitchers in the National League. And yet today, you look at the performance, he only has 1 strikeout. So he obviously doesn't have his best fastball today or his best curveball. And yet he's done a good job of thus far handcuffing the Astros. And that's what separates the real good pitchers from the great pitchers. The guys with good stuff who can do it consistently.
Runner going, and Gonzalez fouls it out of play.
As I remember reading a book by Sandy Koufax where he talked about a pitcher's great stuff, and he says that a pitcher will have his great stuff maybe 25% of the time, and that 25% of the time he's capable of throwing a shutout. So you have to go to the mound with less than your best 75% of the time, and there's degrees of less than your best, but the great pitchers are the guys who can give you the good effort when they're out there with less than their best stuff.
1-2 to Gonzalez, and again he fights it off and fouls it back. Well, the one thing that haunted Maddux, it seemed like all of last season, was the one bad inning. And bear in mind, for a fellow who won 15, lost 15, Maddux handed away what looked like a number of sure wins because he had a lot of leads. This season the ERA is down from a year ago, was up over 3 last season. But his bad inning this year is maybe 1 or 2 runs at the most. Last year it'd be 3, 4, sometimes even 5.
And that's knowing when to take something off. And I think the reason why he's not having that many bad innings, Tom, is the changeup that's come a long way since he started pitching. It's gotten better and better.
Gonzalez hits it hard and deep to center field, but there's room out there for DeCenzo. 1 down.
There's a mistake that mostly young pitchers will make, and that is when they get in a jam, they want to throw the ball harder and harder. And a man with an 88-mile-an-hour fastball, if he gets in a jam, maybe he'll be able to get to 89 or maybe 90 if he throws all out. But the best way to get hitters out is to not go up 2 miles an hour. It's to go down 6 or 7 miles an hour to take something off. And that's the one thing that Greg Maddux over the last couple of years has learned. He's gotten out of a lot of tough jams with the changeup or with just something less than his fastball. I think Rick Sutcliffe was the man who talked to a lot of the Cub pitchers about that, what he called a batting practice fastball. Something about 5, 6 miles an hour off their normal fastball. Just anything to get the hitter out front. If you get him to shift his weight from the back to the front foot and bring his hands forward at all, he can't get anything into the swing. And that's where you'll get a lot of outs, and that's what Maddux has done of late.
Batter is shortstop Casey Candell, back in the lineup today. He had strained a left quadricep muscle and had not played since last Monday against the Giants, but back in there today at short. And his first time up, he bounced out to Steve Buechele. Cubs are leading 1-0, top of the 5th. Caminiti at first with 1 out. There goes a runner, and fouled out of play. We saw a lot of that yesterday by manager Art Howe, hitting and running, and it paid off.
With the wind blowing in at Wrigley Field, you've got to hit and run because it's going to be a low-scoring game, and Art Howe has grasped that concept, and he will hit and run every chance he gets. And it doesn't matter if it's the top of the lineup, the bottom of the lineup, or the middle of the lineup. He has confidence in his hitters that they'll make some contact, and even with guys, Tom, who don't run very well, he sends them on the hit and run.
2-1 to Candell.
Gabor Bushy of Suburban Buick on hand, as is Sayoko of Liberty Buick and Harold Jacobs of Jacobs Twin Buick.
Cubs are running the bottom of the 1st, and neither team has scored ever since. So 1-0 here in the top of the 5th. 2-1 to Candell. Let's see if Caminiti gets started. Maddux perhaps thinking along those lines. Will throw over to Grace.
Caminiti with just average speed, 6 out of 9 in the stolen base department.
There goes a runner, and it's lined at Buechele. This will turn into an easy double play, which ends the 5th inning. 1 hit, none left. And we go to the bottom of the 5th. Cubs 1, Houston 0.
Seven men.
Light this candle.
Reaching for the stars.
It takes a special kind of man to volunteer for a suicide mission. Especially when it's on TV.
Their courage inspired a nation.
If the heat shield comes off, a burnout.
And conquered the frontier. Sam Shepard, Barbara Hershey, Dennis Quaid, and Ed Harris. the right stuff. Wednesday night at 7 on Channel 9.
Hey, Chicago, I'm buying. Hey, Southside, make it a Bud Light. Hey!
My kind of town, my kind of beer.
Schaumburg, Mundelein, Oakwood, Flossmoor.
Hey, Lincoln Park, make it a Bud Light.
It's the beer of choice on Division Street.
Des Plaines, Markham. He don't get out much.
People from the Heights love Bud Light. We are Chicago!
Can I have a Bud Light?
Hey!
Let's suppose 2 cockroaches decide to come waltzing into your home and set up light housekeeping. In just 21 days, you'll have 40 more. In just 1 year, you could have 400,000 unless you call Terminex. Terminex technicians use careful, proven methods and procedures to solve your toughest bug problems. We guarantee it. No ifs, ands, or bugs. Terminex. Call now for your free pest inspection.
A participating advertiser in Cubs baseball is AT&T, proud sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team.
James Garner's fighting back with a secret weapon and an iron will. Tank, Tuesday night at 7 on Channel 9.
Every time you use a hit and run, it doesn't work out very well. Or on occasion, it doesn't work out very well, like this occasion. Cubs get the double play. Carrex donates $100 to Cubs Care for the soft line drive, and it goes 5-3. So Maddux gets out of the inning, and the Cubs still have a 1-run lead.
Ready to begin the last of the 5th. It'll be the heart of the orders. Sandberg, Grace, and Dawson. This trio has been in the thick of the action throughout the entire game. Sandberg walked and scored the only run in the first inning, reached on an error to open up the third. And that was an inning in which the Cubs had the first 2 on but did not score. They had the bases loaded with 1 out in the first inning due to a couple of walks and a single, and the only run they got in was on a near miss double play ball off the bat of Derek May. They have had their chances, having stranded 6 through the first 4 innings. One ball, 1 strike to Sandberg. And there's a shot into left center field that'll drop for a hit. Sandberg has reached on a walk, an error, and now a single.
There's a high changeup, and it looks like Williams tips it. He slowed down his motion, and anytime you do that, the hitter just keeps the hands back and gets a very good swing. You see Sandberg, even though the weight came forward somewhat, the hands stayed back. And that's because Williams threw the changeup at 77 miles an hour. And he slowed down his entire motion to throw it. That's the difference between his changeup and Maddux' changeup. You can't tell when Maddux is coming.
There goes a runner, and the catcher, Taubensee, will not throw down. That ball was actually fouled into his mitt, and he had a tough time pulling her out of there. Sandberg's 13th stolen base.
This was the hit and run. Grace swings at a bad ball trying to protect him, and Taubensee cannot get the handle on this one.
So now another runner in scoring position. Let's see if the Cubs can get him in. It goes to a ball and a strike on Grace. Mark in a rare slump, 3 hits in his last 22 at bats. Into center field, Finley there, and he'll make the play. Sandberg bluffs the tag, remains at second base.
Any questions question today comes from Bob Clark from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He wants to know if a man comes to bat with a couple runners aboard and one of the guys is picked off, does the batter get a time at bat? And the answer is no, it is not a time at bat. However, if the batter's a pinch hitter and one of the men is picked off, you lose that pinch hitter. The next inning he can't come back. He's been announced. You just lose him, and that's why on a stolen base or a pickoff with a pinch hitter, it's sometimes particularly devastating to the team. So we thank Bob Clark from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Andre Dawson has walked and struck out.
Let's watch the reaction of Mark Grace to the last swing. He wanted to get Sandberg over to third base. He knew that was his job, and he didn't get the job done, and he was most unhappy with that at bat.
Fastball from Williams outside and low. 2-0 to Andre Dawson. Pirates still leading Atlanta 1-0. That game has gone to the bottom of the 8th inning at Three Rivers. Hammered down the left field line, but foul. Andre getting the head of the bat out. That is one thing he has talked about during this recent slump since the All-Star break. He feels as though his bat speed has been very slow. So he starts a little earlier, and Stoney, something you brought up earlier, gets up on his front foot, and he just can't drive the ball.
And if you do get the hands out there, Tom, you're especially susceptible to anything off speed or anything breaking low and out of the strike zone. And that's where Andre has had some problems. When any hitter, even a great hitter like Andre Dawson, gets in a slump, he starts expanding his strike zone. And if the pitcher starts nipping at the corners, the hitter gets anxious, wanting to get everything done at one at bat. And before you know it, he swings at a curveball out of the dirt and he strikes out.
There's ball 4 to Dawson, the second time he has walked in the 4th overall pass by Brian Williams on the day.
Derek May has had an opportunity today each time up. He cashed in on it with a run batted in the 1st inning and hit a line drive in the 3rd inning, but nothing to show for it.
There you see the numbers on Derek May before the break, and then ever since he's seen a great deal more playing time after the 3-day Midsummer Classic break, and he smokes this one foul into right.
I think that was on the mind of Derek May. He was just starting to come along as a hitter, and he saw the Cubs acquire Cal Daniels, and he wondered where he fit into the grand scheme of things. But he's getting a lot of playing time now, as Daniels' knees are not permitting him to play much, and Derek May getting his at-bats. And with every at-bat, the batting average seems to be going higher and higher.
2 on and 1 out. Williams delivers the 0-1, and it's fouled away third base side this time. Well, Williams, when he's had to make the big pitch today, he has been able to come through.
He's had some tough innings today, and the pitches are starting to pile up. When the Astros got here, that bullpen was really in a shambles. They were a tired bunch. But they haven't been abused in this series, and so they should be healthy and ready to go. Williams has averaged just about 6 innings per start.
Again into left center field. Finley drifting over, and he sets himself for the catch and the throw, and the runners stay put. So almost a carbon copy thus far of the Cubs' 3rd inning when Sandberg and Grace reached. In this inning, it's Sandberg and Dawson. But no one's come in to score yet.
We had an opportunity today, Tom, while you were interviewing Dave Dombrowski, the general manager of the Florida Marlins, to ask him some questions after the interview. It was a very good interview, carried on the radio side. But he's got a big job. And he says they have twice as many scouts as the Colorado Rockies. And they have a file very thick on all the players in the league. And he said the one advantage that he feels this expansion draft has over the others is that they're able to pick players from the American League also. And that all obviously gives them a lot more work, but also gives them a lot more quality players to choose from. So maybe it won't take quite as long to develop a quality team for both Colorado and Florida in the grand scheme of things.
2 down and 2 on. 0-1 to Wilkins, and it goes to 0-2. He fooled him with what looked like another changeup. Threw it in there right around 73 miles an hour.
Can you imagine taking over as a general manager of a team in the relatively recent past at 32 years old, like Dave Dombrowski did for the Montreal Expos? That's a lot of responsibility for a young man.
Yeah, and I would say that he left there with a grade A On the report card, Wilkins strikes out swinging. The Cubs have come up empty again. 1 hit, 2 men left. They have stranded 8 and lead only 1-0.